Good evening. Welcome in, guys. Welcome in. Welcome in. It's always good to you. We got a special guest with us tonight, and it's not always good to be here. Welcome to another Cantrell Country Travelway Cruise Line show where we bring the cruising live. We talk about cruises, we talk about cruise updates, we talk about the different cruise lines, we compare cruise ships. And tonight we got a very special guest who is a dear friend to me. As I've gotten to know her more and more, I love her. Kind of a replacement for Jesse. And we miss Jesse. And don't get me wrong. And I hope Molly understands Jesse. But see, now Molly helps a lot with us, and it's good. And let's welcome in our own monorail Molly, Jen, and then we'll say hello to the chat. And
Hello, hello, hello. I felt it was appropriate for me to wear the hat for the. I just wanted to match you.
I mean, this is my travel hat. But anyways, all right. So
This
let's
is my
go ahead
Dave
and
Cantrell hat.
go ahead and welcome everybody in the chat that's here. And we've got our good friend Mike Beachman. Welcome in, Mike. And of course, there is our good friend Zippity Doo Doug. And then, of course, we can't forget our dear Mama D, our good friend Debbie Bernfeld. And of course, who can forget our OTC of the Disney community, the original tribal chief, Pete McDevitt. Welcome in, Pete. I hope you guys are having a great time down in Florida. And of course, let's see who else. John Surfbum is in the house.
I got to meet him.
Came over the weekend and had a good time. And of course, we always got to welcome in Molly's mom, special lady. She's always special. I love meeting her back in December. I can't wait to meet her again when we get a chance. And of course, there's our blow me down and shiver my timbers. We got a Jill Walkbridge sighting in here. It's been a while since we've had. Welcome in. Good to see you back, Jill. We haven't seen you in shows in a while. It's always good to see you. And of course, now, guys, we got a special friend. We all know this one. So let's Jen say hello and of course then we'll get down to talking about her trip. Anyway, Jen.
I would just like to say thanks for having me. This is a lot of fun. I brought my Dave Cantrell hat for the occasion. I felt like it was appropriate for the stream. And I'm excited to tell all of you about my cruise that I went on.
And of course, with that, and again, we'll talk about why we're here. And for those that are here, most of you guys in the chat know I own my own agency. For you guys, it's for someone that'll come in and may be new to my channel. I am Dave Cantrell. I am the agent and owner of the Cantrell Country Travelway. I specialize in domestic travel, but I do also specialize in cruise lines and exotic trips, so I can plan any type of magical vacation you're looking for. The thing about a vacation is you always want that special memory, you want that special relaxation, you want that special time, whether you're by yourself or with friends or with family, or maybe you're with your spouse or loved one. You want to have that special magical moment. So we'll talk more about my agency in a little while. But meantime, we are here to hear more about, and what I like to hear about this is, it's always special, Jen, when you get to hear about people's first time cruise lines, going on a cruise. Because even I didn't know what to expect the first time I went on a cruise line. Because you hear horror stories, you hear stories that are awesome, And then of course you hear the stories that are in between the two and respect. Obviously, hopefully, I know this community and all of us hope you had a great time on it. We were praying. I know I've been praying for all that you would have a good time on your cruise. So I'm going to open it up and let you take it.
Okay, so I was fortunate enough to go on a 5-day cruise with my family, along with my mom and dad and my brother and sister-in-law and their family. So it was a full family cruise. It was mine and my family and my parents' first cruise. And we sailed on the Vision of the Seas, which is on the Royal Caribbean line. And we left out of Baltimore and cruised to Bermuda and then came back to Baltimore. So it would, I guess, 5 days. It was good for someone who was first cruising, you know, not too short, not too long. Although now I think maybe it was too short. Looking back on it, I think everyone would have liked to have had a few more days, but it was a good starter cruise. I want to start and show you.
If I may
What's that,
add
Dave?
on to that for a second, personally, I think
Okay.
you guys made a good choice because for a first-time cruiser, you don't want to do no more than 4 or 5 days because there's too much to really explore what's on a cruise line, especially even if it is a smaller ship. There's still a lot to offer. You guys did a good job, and one, it gives you more to want to go back. So just keep that in mind for all you people that have never taken a cruise and want to do a cruise. I'm telling you now, I recommend a 4 or 5 day cruise for the first time.
Yep. I would agree with that. Also, the fact that this is one of the smaller ships in the Royal Caribbean ship line, whatever they call that. It's one of the older ones and the smaller ones, but I think it was great, like as a first-time cruiser, just to kind of get your feet wet and kind of just, you know, not be so intimidated, you know, by some of those bigger ships that actually just seem so overwhelming, you know, the Icon and the Star, looking at like a lot of social media influencers who went on the Star of the Seas lately, like that just, I don't know about that for a first time. I think that might have been too much. So I think this was a good choice. I think it was a good choice.
You did make a good one because I actually, I've been watching another channel that I'm getting ready to. I'm probably going to reach out to him because I've been checking out some of his videos. He does a good job he does a lot of streaming from a jetty, like park out of Port Canaveral that watches a lot of the Port Canaveral ships going in and out. And I actually, the other day he was there and I got to see the Star of the Seas, and it is magnificent. It definitely outrageous. I mean, it is the sister ship of the Icon. Now, here's the crazy thing of it is actually a little bit shorter than the Icon, but weighs just as much as the Icon.
Okay. That's a fun little fact there. Didn't realize that. Yeah, I think we're going to work our way up to that. We're not just going to jump right into that. We're definitely going to work our way up to maybe some of those larger ships.
Yeah, I would. I mean, like I said, obviously, now I don't mind going on the larger ships. I've done one of the small ones. Now I got to go on to the larger ones. I mean, because of what I do and what I plan on, what I want to do for the rest of my life, which is travel and do what I'm doing.
Right. Yep. So, and my mom is here in the chat. She was on the cruise with me. So, Mom, if you want to chime in, if I miss anything or if you want to add anything,
yes, if
go
she
right
does,
ahead.
let me know, and I will make sure we highlight it.
So, Dave, if you want to go ahead and I'll share my screen so we can look at some pictures and we could talk through the pictures.
Well, now let me tell. I'm going to take out. Not Jill. Where's your mom? was that one your mom said about the pool? Because that is a rarity. Okay, off screen.
Mm-hmm.
No, not pin. Hide. Okay, I am going to say something to what Jen's mom said. It's a rarity.
Oh, there it is.
But it can happen. People
Mm-hmm.
don't, especially at nighttime. I will say this, it depends on what time in the evening and what you're doing. So,
Well, in commenting commenting on what my mom said, that the kids had the pool to themselves, opposite of that was the first day when everybody was getting on the ship and there were so many people in the pool that everybody was just like standing in the pool shoulder to shoulder. You couldn't fit one more body in that pool. I'm like, nope, that's not for me. No thanks. I passed on that.
well, and that's the other thing. That's when you start looking for like, where are the adult pools that I can go to be private?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, unless you have small kids, and in your case, your kids are, teenagers and
Mine are
older.
older. Mm-hmm.
So they can be responsible for themselves. So, that's when you and your husband go find the adult pool and you can relax. Because I can guarantee
Yeah.
you this, that, you have to be 18 or older to be anywhere in the adult section. So and some of these ships do have nice adult areas for the adults just to relax.
Yeah. Now this ship had what's called the solarium, which was the adult only pool, and it was covered. It was like a greenhouse effect. It was, well, I guess a solarium, you would say that it was not open to the outside. But that was the adult area. But ironically, the pizza window was in the solarium. So the kids had to go into the adult section if they were going to the pizza window to get their pizza and then leave from there. So, that's how this ship was set up. Now, remember, this is an older ship. It's a small ship. There are only the two pools on the whole ship. So there was the one regular pool, and then there's the adult pool. So, it's not set up like a lot of these bigger ships are these
No,
days.
and a lot of the larger cruise, they're a lot different now.
Mm-hmm. We made do, we didn't know any better going on this cruise. I didn't know what to expect. I had watched a few YouTube videos of other people that had done walkthroughs of the ship, so kind of had an idea of what some things look like, but didn't really have too many thoughts of what was going to happen. So this picture here that we're looking at, that's obviously when we pulled into the parking lot. When the ship was in port. As you could tell, it not that big, only 9 decks. So that's.
I do have to ask this: how was your
Mm-hmm.
day out embarkation? Because sometimes it can be a nightmare for people to embark on the ship. How was your first day of getting on the actual ship?
So we actually had a late check-in time. We didn't check in until about 1:00 in the afternoon. That was because my parents and my brother and his family decided to drive out that morning to get on the ship. So we needed to get on a little later. Now, me and my family, we drove out to Baltimore the night before and then spent the night and then just took our time, had a nice breakfast at the hotel and then took our time getting over to the ship. It looked very intimidating pulling up. There was a long line of cars waiting to get in. And I was just thinking to myself, oh my gosh, how long is this going to take? And I was so surprised how fast it went, how fast they got us through that line, dumping off our bags and then going around to the other side where you had to pay the port for the parking for the week to park the car. And then we parked and we walked in and everything moved so quick and so smooth. I was so surprised because that was not how I felt pulling into the parking lot. So I would say that was a really good experience. Very good.
Because, and for you guys that have never taken a cruise, here's the reason why I asked. Embarkation can be, I hate to say it, it can be one of the worst. If your cruise is going to be a bad one, it's going to start right there when you embark into the ship. And here's the
Mhm.
thing: it could be anything. You know, your documents that you need may be misplaced or mislabeled or something. You know, something could cause you a delay of boarding the ship. You know,
Mhm.
um, but obviously, you guys, hats off to you because you did it right. I mean, I
Mhm.
don't know where your mom and your the rest of your family were coming from, but what you did, I always tell my clients, if you're gonna take a cruise and you have to either fly in or drive in to the port you're going out of, make sure you get there a day ahead of time so that you can
Mhm.
get a good night's sleep because it's going to be a long day at embarkation. Because most
Mhm.
cruises, here's the thing, really 1 o'clock is not a late embarkation too late because most ships don't start embarkating until about 11 or 12 o'clock and they're done
Okay.
by 4 so that they can, depending on when their time to pull out of the port is, sometimes it's 4, sometimes it's 4:30. Again, it
Mhm.
varies from each and every one.
Yeah, see, we were pulling out of the port with the sail away party. I think that was at 3 o'clock. So, and the last group to get on the ship, the last time slot you can choose, um, was 1:30 to 2 o'clock. So there wasn't much turnaround there from the last group getting on till to the boat, leaving the dock. So everything went smooth. We walked onto the ship and were able to go right to our muster station, got that taken care of, within minutes. And the nice thing is that Royal Caribbean has a pretty comprehensive app that they use that all of your information goes into. So even when we checked into the port, we had already preloaded all of our passport information, driver's license information, um, medical check. All of that was already in the app. So the most that we had to do when we got to the port was to just physically show our passports and have our picture taken. And that was pretty much it. Everything else had already been taken care of. So I think that helped to speed up the process.
And she brought up a good point. You said it was all downloaded in your app. Guys,
Hmm.
you're not going to find, you know what? Most anything that does to do with the travel and tourism, Disney, Royal Caribbean, you're going to have apps. And I will tell you one thing: if you do take a cruise, use your apps.
Hmm.
I mean, you may not
Yep.
necessarily use it to connect to the Wi-Fi, but it'll have the listings of the times for your dinner depending on what you choose, and that varies
Hmm.
from cruise line to cruise lines, um, and ship to ship actually as well. It'll have times of your shows and entertainment,
Hmm.
things like that. So that's a good thing.
Yep.
Anyways, please
Yep.
continue.
It's basically your lifeline when you're on the ship, which is ironic that halfway through my phone died. So, but we'll get to that. um, okay, so let's see what my next picture is. Okay, so this was as we were leaving the port. I took this picture because I wanted to show that that was that bridge. If you had heard that that cargo ship had ran into in Baltimore, and the bridge had come down. So I just thought, wow, look at how that looks, how the road just ends there in the water. So wanted to just take a picture of that and show you, we were able to just go right through there. I guess that was a big hit for Baltimore, and people being able to commute from one area to another. So I don't see them looking like they're going to be fixing it. So that kind of sucks. But yeah, just wanted to show how that it just ends right there. So that was coming out of the port at Baltimore. All right, these are my kids, but I wanted to show this. We had an interior room, and this was kind of one of the better pictures of the room, where they had to come in and lower down from this part of the wall here. They just lowered down the bunk bed, and that's where my younger son slept. And then there was a bed underneath, and then there was an opening in the middle, and then there was a bed on the other side. And we could have had our beds like pushed together, but we found that we had a lot more room inside of the cabin if we kept the beds separated. There was a lot more room to walk around. So we chose to do it that way. But I was worried having an interior cabin that we were going to be tripping over each other and it was going to be really small, but it actually wasn't that bad. It actually wasn't that bad.
How much is the room? Because I know when I'm going to be the honest truthfully. As a TA, I'm going to tell you, I am never doing an interior room ever again. Because I was tripping over everything every time I come in at 1 a.m. and I was sharing in the inside stateroom with some people when I went on my one cruise, and I'm no more interior rooms for me. I'm not saying that.
Steve, you got to push your stuff off to the side. You can't leave it out in the middle of the room to trip over.
We had it all packed to the side. We had it packed into the closet under the bed.
We had, well, let's see, in my room, we had 4 suitcases, but there were 3 of us that stayed in the room, me, my husband, and my younger son. And we had 4 suitcases between the 3 of us. And we had put the biggest suitcase in the closet because that just had all of our dress up clothes, for all the different dress up and theme nights, formal nights. So we kept that in the closet. And then the other 3 suitcases, we put 1 on a chair and we put 2 on a little like couch that was there. And we just lived out of our suitcases and it seemed to work okay. So I would definitely stay in a room like this again, in an interior room, just to save the money, because honestly, we really weren't in the room hardly. So I'm not going to spend extra money to have a fancy room if I'm never going to be in it. So I think we would do an interior room again.
Okay. Now she's got a point to that. And I will, okay.
Okay.
You actually got a point to that, Molly. Because 9 times out of 10, it depends on what you want to do with your cruises. But majority of the time, you are going to be walking around the ship and enjoying the features and the amenities of the ship. So yeah, there is to a point to that. Now, like me, again, I like space. Because now for me, I've tried the interior room. Okay, next room, I know why I want a room with a veranda. I mean, that's the thing. One, I like the ocean view at night. So I mean that's the case. But I mean, would you if you go on your next cruise, would you still think about doing an interior room, or would you think about looking at doing like a veranda, which is a little bit bigger, which, they call it like a balcony type suite, because there's a difference between they're different. Now they have suites, but then they have staterooms that are like veranda, what they call veranda staterooms, which are the medium-sized rooms between the interior and the suites itself.
Yeah, they had the different rooms you could choose from. They had the interior. They had the ones with just the window that you can look out of. Then they had the balcony. Then they had the suite. It went up from there.
Yeah, port view.
But honestly, I have to say, like, once we got back to the room each night, I was ready to crash. So, we spent some time out, looking at the stars, in the darkness. That was kind of cool to be out on the deck to do that. But once I came back to the room, I was going to sleep. So I didn't really see the need for even a window or a balcony. So I'm going to say, in an effort to save money, to be able to go on more cruises and more vacations, I think I would just do the interior room again.
Right. Well, and you know what? And that's fairly, and you know what? Good reasoning. Good reasoning.
Mm-hmm.
If
Okay.
you got questions for Jen or even questions for Molly Moms that might be able to answer, please put them in the thing, guys. I will try to highlight them so that we can, because even your mom's been putting in some interesting facts. She said she actually was mightily surprised at how much room there actually was in the interior stateroom.
Mm-hmm. Now this is a better picture. You see my mom back here in the mirror. This was her room. And it was my mom and my dad and my niece that stayed in this room. But this just shows you better how, if you keep this area open in the middle, it makes the room seem so much bigger than if you were to push these two beds together. Then you have just a tiny walkway on either side, but your room basically ends at the foot of the bed. So that's why we opted to keep our beds separate. So we had this whole area here in the middle to walk through. So that worked better for us. We liked that better for our situation. But I don't have a picture from the other side that showed the bathroom. Now I will say that the bathroom shower was a little bit too small. You're showering and that shower curtain is sticking to you. Like, that's just a little too small. So that I wish was a little bit bigger.
Okay. So your drawback to that would be the shower. See where some of your port view, the rooms that you said with just the windows, those are what you call the port view room, state rooms, and then you got the rooms with the verandas, staterooms. Though the bathrooms in those tend to be a little bit bigger.
Okay.
So yeah, that it does make a difference, but then again, you have to weigh the pros and cons. And again, you're weighing the pros and the cons, and you're leaning more to you would stay with an interior stateroom because it worked for you.
Yeah, it worked this time. So I don't see there's unless the cost wasn't that much different. We actually had been looking at cruises for like next year or the year after, and some of the cruises, like, the price wasn't much different between the interior or the cabins with the windows. So I think it would depend, what the price was. But yeah, I think we would probably go with the interior again, at least one more time. Now maybe on a longer cruise, we might get sick of it, being in there longer, but for 5 days, and so much to do on the ship, I didn't really feel a need to have a room any different than this.
That's an interesting thought that you brought up. And yes, it is the porthole view that I'm talking about, Captain Mickey Mouse. I just say port view because that's, but yes, it's the porthole view staterooms that.
Yep.
But which is interesting because now I can guarantee you, like you said, you only did 5 days. You weren't in that room that much. So for you in this case, and it really, like I said, because of, and here's the thing, your mom made an interesting point. She only went back to the room, only changed her clothes for dinner, and then didn't return until after midnight. Well, which is an interesting point because that's about what I did. I was pretty much out of the room until 12, 1, 2. Most of the times I didn't get back to the room until 3 a.m.
Oh my.
And that's because sometimes I sat out on the deck watching the back of the ship,
Mm-hmm.
and because there's something about, I will tell you this, and I don't know if you got to do it at night, but or next time maybe try this. Look out at the back of the ship, just look over the horizon, and the endless blackness of it, except the stars, is a beautiful. You're talking about the art that when you and Pete do your interviews, you talk about absolute beautiful art.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't get a better picture. That's about as close to the art as you can get that's real. I mean, it's just absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah,
It's like
just
catching
beautiful
the
nature.
sunset or sunrise over the ocean meeting the sky. It's just endless, and it's absolutely beautiful.
Yep. All right, so let's move on. What do we have here? Oh, this is my family. This was in the main dining room. So we were lucky enough to have a table for us. You see, I do have a photo bomb back there. This is Molly's mom. I see that now. She was photobombing us. Thanks, Mom. That's hello. So this is where, we had dinner here every night except the one night. We did not go to the dining room for Mexican night because in the buffet, they had a fajita bar where you can make your own fajitas, and they also had a nacho bar where you could make, loaded nachos. And they did not have that in the main dining room. So we like our nachos and fajitas. We went to the buffet. But otherwise, this is where we were at. We had the later dining.
Did you actually try any of the specialty restaurants? So there you go. You did not try any of the specialty restaurants.
No,
I mean,
nope. And
you know what? Got a few good specialty restaurants on there. But
yeah.
Because you were the opposite. Me, I stuck to the buffet, and they actually, on the Elation, they had Guy Fry's burger joint, and they had like a sushi. And no, I did not eat sushi on the Elation. I'm going to tell you that now. It's a good thing Jonathan's not here, because I'd have to chew him out on that one.
Oh boy.
First thing, because he'd bring it up. But no, they had good salad. They actually had salad, some Japanese stuff, some other things, and this besides the regular, buffet bar, which you could get roast beef, chicken, fried chicken, everything.
Yeah. So,
I actually think we did the main dining hall for us. We did the main dining hall once through the whole cruise. But then, like I said, Mom and Dad got sick. So why am I going to go to the main dining hall? It's just me. It would be me and three other ladies. Oh, wait a minute. Might have made a mistake on that one.
Yeah. You and three ladies? Woo-hoo.
But first of all, I do want to say you got a beautiful family.
Oh,
Jen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Family. And even Mama D said you had a beautiful family. So
thank you, Debbie. Yes, they're all right. I'll keep them. I can't say that I would go to the.
Admit, I love the staircase. It kind of, it does got that royalty feeling a little bit.
Yeah, because it was the dining hall. The main dining room was the 2 levels. So, this was our assigned table that we were at. My mom and dad and my brother's family were actually all the way on the other side of the dining room. We weren't even next to each other, but that was all right. The thing I like best about the dining room, I would say, is that it was calmer than the buffet, calmer and quieter. And our servers were just out of this world. They were fantastic. I mean, my drink was always full, and my son Zach ordered the same thing off the kids menu every day, and she would have part of it waiting for him when he got to the table, because she just knew that what he wanted, and they knew what drinks we ordered. So it was nice. It was nice to have people there serving us that cared. But I don't know, like I I didn't like having to dress up. I'm gonna be honest. I would have preferred to just go in there with a
Now, did you
t-shirt,
have to,
shorts, and flip flops.
let me ask you this. Did you have to dress? You didn't have to dress up every night, did you? Or was it just one dress night? Because
Well,
like,
it
even
was.
like we only had one night where we had to dress up.
We had this actually. This picture was from the formal night. They call it dress your best night. But I'll tell you, I mean, the boys had their suits on and Zach had a tie on, but there were other people coming in where the guys were just wearing like polo shirts and khakis. So, I mean, I guess it's how you interpret it, or, how fancy you want to dress. It wasn't mandatory. Um, there was no restrictions or anything like that. But so we did it. It's our first cruise. We did it. There was a tropical night. We wore the tropical shirts. There was a whiteout night where you had to wear white. And then there were other, wear your best cruise attire or whatever it was. I don't know, just all the different themes. So we did it. We dressed up in each theme. But yeah, I think as far as the food goes, I like the convenience of the buffet, that you could just kind of walk in when you want. You could grab what you want. With the main dining room, you have to go only at your assigned time. You sit at the same table. Some of the things on the menu were the same from day to day. Some of the things were different. Yeah, that's a good thing. No shorts. If you go to the main dining room, they say you shouldn't be wearing shorts. You should be wearing long pants, or ladies should be wearing skirts or dresses. So, I don't know that I would want to do that on another cruise. I kind of was looking forward to just like relaxing. Like if I could walk into the dining room in a t-shirt and flip-flops and shorts, that would have been the ideal situation. So I don't know, but it was okay. Again, this was our first cruise, so we kind of, did it all. Just because we'd never done it before. So I don't really have any complaints there. Yeah, I know, Doug, you would never make it to the dining room. Yeah.
Honestly, hey Doug, I'm going to tell you, except for the one short picture that I can't remember where I posted where I was wearing shorts. You will never see me in shorts either, unless I'm in the swimming pool. That would be the only reason. And I guarantee you it would not be no Speedos.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. So this was the theater. They had that they did shows each night. And this was like a Broadway type dancing, singing show. It was very good. I was pleasantly surprised. You hear jokes about, Carnival cruise ship entertainers, but they were actually very good. The singing was fantastic. So we really enjoyed that. We saw the Broadway show. There was also a show that was like 70s music. It was like a boogie, I forget what it was, boogie bash or boogie something, or boogie nights. I don't know. It was something like that, where they dressed up in the costumes and danced and sang songs from the 70s, disco songs and stuff. So that was pretty cool. That was really good entertainment. They had an illusionist one night. They had a comedian another night. So yeah, we enjoyed having that live entertainment to go to on the ship. So I high regards. I would definitely do those shows again.
Nice. And I will say they do have a lot of good different shows.
Oh, there you go. Boogie Wonderland. Thank you, Mom. Boogie Wonderland, it was called. So this is the main area in the middle of the ship, and they have this is like a glass elevator, and right here is a glass elevator, and the staircase. So yeah, so we're like, I don't know how many, we're probably on like the third level up in this area, but this was a lot of fun because each night in this area they would have the DJ playing songs, and I'll zoom in here so you could see, here's some of the cruise some of the crew. This gal right here was the cruise director, leading everyone. I think this was 80s night, so there was dancing down here. We pretty much spent every night before we went back to the cabin just sitting here in a chair, just either listening to the DJ, watching people dance, or they had a band that would set up and sing cover songs. This was a lot of fun. This was really nice to have this at the end of the night. So yeah, I unless Mom has anything else to say, I thought it was good. I don't have anything. You have to remember, I don't have anything else to compare it to. So I'm sure the cruise ships now have, better, fancier things. But again, I was pleasantly surprised.
I will tell you that a lot of your promenade decks like that, or similar to that, where they've got a bar where you can get your cocktails, drinks.
Mm-hmm.
But behind them, they usually have some type of stage where entertainment goes on during the night, where people can come hang out, dance, party, get their drinks. Not just on the pool decks and that, but obviously that's the main deck that leads to the different parts of the ships where your health and spa are, going to the pools, going back to your cabins, your shop. For all you ladies that love the shops, they definitely have your shops to shop. So You better be bringing a full wallet because it's not exactly cheap.
Yeah, some of the stuff was cheap. Once you get into those international waters, it's duty free. So they would bring out the tables into the hallways and have I know they had like a women's sale. It was like everything on all the tables was only $10. That was pretty cool. Purses and hats and watches and some jewelry and bags.
Your mom said that was after the boogie show.
Okay. Yep. There you go. Thank you, Mom. So yeah, this was a lot of fun. It was the cruise director. She was made for that job. I mean, she was right in there everywhere you turned. There she was. I don't know if she ever slept. I don't know where she got her energy from, but she was definitely keeping the hype going on the ship.
I get the feeling your mom would be a great person to hang out with on a cruise ship because I agree with her on a thing. Like I said, I didn't get back to my room until 3 a.m. It was 3 a.m. when I went back to my ship with my cruise room. Yep. Oh, Harlan said his wife, he liked the. Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Oh, brother.
What do you say to that? You don't say anything to that.
Well, tell Neil I said hi, Pete.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. See, that's what I'm talking right there. Picture it.
Yep.
You were talking about all these people that you interview. This is the type of pictures you do not get to see from land. That to me is the most picturesque you can get.
And I do have to say, starting off at the port in Baltimore and going through the Chesapeake Bay, the water is gray, brown. It's not this, like the further away from shore we got, the water just turned more and more blue. Like, I don't see blue water like this where I live. So this was something to see that water
is pure blue.
Is blue.
I mean, it's not crystal clear blue like some, like if you go to the Keys or certain spots in the Bahamas or certain in the, where it's like a crystal clear blue water, but it is blue water.
Yep. So I just thought this was beautiful with the blue water. Just, few waves here from the ship, the blue sky with the white clouds against it. I just thought it was just so picturesque and just something you just don't normally get to see. This was actually when we were approaching Bermuda. So there's the island of Bermuda way out there in the background.
I just got one question for you. Did
Yeah,
any
what's that?
aliens try to kidnap you all when you were in Bermuda?
I don't think
You
so.
know,
No, not that I'm aware of, not
you
that
know
I
you're close
remember.
to the Bermuda Triangle, but you just never know when those aliens are going to come.
Yep. We were definitely at the Bermuda Triangle, and it appears that we made it home safely. So we were
Well,
lucky.
it's probably that Mama D offered some of her moonshine to the aliens, and they were probably all partied out.
It could be.
And
Here's another
so
picture of the
that'll be added
island.
to the list for December.
Yep. So here's just another picture of the island. Like I said,
Oh,
we went to Bermuda.
oh,
I've never been there before, but the thing you notice as you approach is that it's very green. Lots of trees, lots of vegetation. One thing we did learn while we were there is that all houses and buildings have to be painted a certain color. They have regulations on what color the buildings can be painted, and your roofs are white, and they actually collect the rainwater because the island of Bermuda has no fresh water. Everything in Bermuda is only salt water. They have no water, lakes or rivers or anything like that. So that's why, oops, I didn't want to do that. That's why the rooftops you'll see on these houses and these buildings are all white. Because then they use it as a rainwater collection. So I thought that was pretty unique. Again, it's something else that we don't have to worry about here in the States.
hey, it's still either way you look at it, it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And you're
And then
right,
this is just
Helen.
another picture of
There
the
is a
boat.
ton of lot to do in Bermuda.
Mm-hmm. So this is just, after we docked, you got off the ship back here, and then you had to come through this building. This was customs. You went through here, and there really wasn't anything to do with that. You just had to make sure you had your driver's license with you, like a photo ID, and your cruise pass, which was you use it like it's almost like it would be your magic band in comparison to Disney, where you just use your card just for buying stuff, using it as your room key. You had to have that with you if you left the ship. So you go through this building, and then you walk down the long pier, and that's where all the different tour companies and
I do
excursion
gotta
tents
ask
were
this.
set up.
You guys didn't become pier runners when you left, did you?
No, no,
Okay,
and
so
actually,
so
we had been hearing.
you didn't get to make YouTube running down the pier trying to catch a ship as it's pulling out of port. Okay,
No,
I
and
just
it's
want I
funny
just need to
because
make sure that was I had to ask that question.
yep, the girl that was our cruise director was actually making fun of that and said, when we get back on the ship, you're going to see all the people running down the pier trying to make it on the boat, and
Oh
then there
no,
weren't any on that
that's
ship. There
legit.
were
That's
no.
legit. I always tell you, we
Yeah,
always tell people that however long you're staying in the port, like in your case, you said you stayed there 24 hours. So I
just
don't know what
yeah,
time
a
you
little
left
less,
the
but just
next
about.
day. What time did
Mhm.
you leave the next day?
We had to be back on the ship by 11 in the morning.
11 the morning.
Yeah, so we got off at 3 the one day in the afternoon, and then we had that whole day overnight, and then the next morning, and we had to be back on the ship by 11.
I always tell, and see, here's the thing. Here, and this is what I always tell first time cruisers. When you go to a port, usually it's a day visit. You're usually there from a certain time in the morning till a certain
Mm-hmm,
time in the afternoon. Make sure you get back to an hour and a half before your cruise ship thing.
mm-hmm.
Because if you're doing excursions, you never know when your excursions go wrong. But see, if you're
Right.
expect now, here's the thing, and this is where I'm going to write, and we'll talk more about this when I talk about my agency in a little bit. If you do excursions, my recommendation is like if you go on a cruise again, Jen, and you guys
Mm-hmm,
decide to do like maybe a dolphin boat tour or something like that, make sure you book it through the cruise lines, because if you do that, then the tour company will work with the cruise lines to make sure that they make sure you get back,
mm-hmm.
if something happens to them and they're the fault of you not being back in time for your cruise to leave.
Right. And
Well,
you know,
that's something to keep in
we had
mind if
heard
you go
that.
on a cruise
So,
again and you do excursions.
so we did do some excursions. I think I have some pictures here. This was it's called Devil's Isle. And that is where a few of us from the family did a ship excursion. And we went here and were able to snorkel. There's my son snorkeling.
Sweet.
Yeah, he had so much fun doing that. They also had the option of paddle boarding or kayaking. And it was just in this area here. You weren't like out in the middle of the ocean or anything. You were pretty close to shore. I was able to walk in the water. That's how deep it was. It wasn't very deep at all, except when you were going back to the ship. Now, I don't know if, or not the ship, but the boat. This is the boat that we took from the port where the cruise ship was, and this boat brought us here to this part of the island. But down here, you had to like jump off the boat into the water because the boat had to stay docked out so far because
Right.
it needed the deeper water to anchor.
Exactly.
So you weren't able to touch the bottom there, but everybody, if you were getting off, initially you had to have the life jacket on. They had everybody put the life jacket on.
Oh, so everybody had to have a life jacket out there. Well,
Yeah.
see, that's the company that is the and obviously you got to follow the rules with that, and that's not a bad one.
So that's that was it. And there are some people that stayed on that boat and just watched, or there were people that would get on and off the boat as they want. Now, once we got off, we did not get back on because once we got closer to shore where you could stand, we didn't want to keep going back and forth in the deep water where you couldn't touch the bottom. So we just kind of stayed in the one area where we knew we were safer standing.
Understand.
Yep.
Hold on to that question, Debbie, and we'll make
I'll get to that.
Questions at the end, because that'll be that.
I will get to that. So that was the excursion we did the first day. Now this was the second day in the morning. We got off the boat and we were doing a trolley tour of the island. So we just before we got on the trolley, we were just walking around and checking out a few things close to the port.
Harlan, here's a good question for you at this point.
Yeah, no, we did not go to the fort. No, we actually didn't have a ton of time to do a lot of things because you figure we actually were in port less than 24 hours because, we got off the boat at 3 p.m. and had to be back on the boat by 11 o'clock the next morning. And we scheduled the excursion, that snorkeling excursion was 3.5 hours long. So that took us into the evening and we kind of just went back onto the boat and had dinner. And then, like I said, the next morning we were doing a trolley tour. So we didn't, there was a lot more on the island that we could have done, but, being the first time, we just kind of went with the excursions that, we thought we would enjoy the most. So, next time we would do it differently. But again, being the first time, we played it safe and did, the ship excursions through Royal Caribbean. They handled everything, and we just felt more comfortable that way. But like I said, next time I don't know if we would do the excursion. We just go off and explore on our own. So yeah, Mom just mentioned the wild chickens, and I actually have the picture here. They were just all over the island, and I don't how we have squirrels here? They have chickens there, I guess. So that was funny to see them running across the street and just kind of doing their thing. So I had to drop a picture of that in there because you don't see that every day.
Nah, that's the rooster ruling everything.
Yep.
He's watching over everything.
Yeah, and Captain Mickey Mouse, we went on Royal Caribbean Vision of the Seas. It's one of their smaller ships. This was our first cruise. It was a 5-day cruise. I thought it was perfect. It was just what we needed for the first time. Oh, here's a little. This is what was our trolley.
I
That
like
drove us
That's
around the island. A cute little trolley. So that was a picture of that. And we didn't obviously do the whole island. It would have taken a day, just to drive around the whole entire island. But, the areas we saw were beautiful. It was just enough to see some sights, feel the nice, perfect weather, not too hot, not too cold. You can see the beautiful green water that they have in Bermuda closer, to the island. It's more of a green. It was just beautiful. It was just nice and relaxing.
nice.
Now, this is something that I wanted to talk about because this was a very special moment where they have a tribute to veterans. Now, I don't know if all of the cruise lines do this or if this is just a Royal Caribbean thing, but the one afternoon they had invited up on the steps anybody on the ship who was a veteran of any military, any foreign military, United States military, and they did tributes to each branch of service. It was very moving. The band came up and played the song for each branch of service, so that was fun because you'd have the veterans up on the steps, saluting and singing their song when it would come on. And my dad is a veteran, so that's why this was so special to us. I'll zoom in. This is my dad right here in the light colored t-shirt. He's was in the Coast Guard. He's a retired U.S. Coast Guard veteran. And so this was very special for us.
And it would be because the only other one that I know that does it is Carnival and Royal Caribbean are the two that I know of that do it.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm aware of that actually honor the veterans.
Yep. So this was special. And then they had, I don't have it here in the picture, but down below here in front of where the band is set up, they had this very, very large American flag made out of cupcakes, which was pretty cool. So everybody enjoyed those red, white, and blue cupcakes. So it was very special. It was a beautiful tribute. I think that was one of it was a very nice moment on the ship. It was a very good thing. So yeah, I wanted to make sure I shared that.
And hats off to all the veterans that have served, your dad and quite a few.
Yep. And then, just some nice pictures. This was the last day on the ship. Our last full day, because we had a day and a half at sea, and then we had the 2 days in Bermuda, and then we had the another a day and a half, coming back on the ship. So this is just beautiful. I preface saying this was our first cruise. So, some people might say, oh, that's nothing. But for us, it was beautiful. It was just a nice moment. Here's the pool. This was the last day where my mom said that the kids were in the pool by themselves. Yeah, this is when they were in the pool by themselves. But for some reason, I don't know why it was like that on the last day. But every other day, that pool was barely standing room only. It was just packed with people. So I think it might have been partly this was like right around the first dining room time. The dining, you had the early dining reservation or the late. We had the late. So this was more at the early time. So maybe a lot of people were already, cleaning up and getting ready for dinner. So they were out of the pool. But Yeah, the kids really loved it. But again, this was the only pool on the ship that the kids could swim in. So I guess that was one drawback. Maybe on another ship it would be nicer to have a few more pools, or some of those ships now have the water slides and stuff, and we didn't have anything like that. So
No,
I think next time it'd be nice to
Vision
do
of the
that.
Seas is definitely one of the smaller class. It's one of the earlier class ships.
Mm-hmm.
I can't
Right.
remember if it's the Oasis. I can't remember if it's an Oasis class or if it's
I don't know.
the earlier class with that. I'd have to double check.
I don't know.
But it's one of the
We
earlier
didn't go to
classes of
St.
Royal
George.
Caribbean.
We didn't go to St. George or Hamilton. We were at the Royal Naval Dockyard. That was the port that we were in when we were in Bermuda. Here's the front of the boat. I don't know what the technical term of that is, but this was the front. Just beautiful out there, just peaceful, and just to see the horizon out front and nothing there.
You get to
but the
stand on the
water
deck and
was very
go, I'm king of the world.
king of the world. You know what? No, I didn't do that. I didn't. I was afraid. At this point, I did not have my cell phone. These pictures were taken by off of my husband's phone, or my dad took some pictures. My mom took some pictures. I had a phone mishap and didn't have my phone for the last half of the trip. So I was a little bit afraid. This was another thing that was very cool. I'm sure they do this on all the ships, is the Parade of Nations of all of the people that work on the cruise ship and all of the different countries that they were from. So
Yes.
that was very cool. This was the last evening before we docked. And they were all standing there with their flags, and then some of the representatives from the countries would come out front there on the dance floor and do a little dance or sing something. So it was very cool. That was very cool. So I thought I would show that. And a lot of people came to that. I mean, there are just people standing everywhere around there watching that. So we actually were late for our dining reservation because we wanted to watch this. It was that cool. Surprisingly, the U.S. was not the country with the most workers on the ship. They only had a handful of people who were from the United States working on the ship. So
because you got to understand that the Royal Caribbean, never mind. I was getting, never mind. Let me rephrase that.
Okay.
MSC is from where I was thinking of. So, yeah, I understand.
Okay.
A lot of the ships have a lot more. I couldn't remember what the class was called. It may be.
Yeah, that's above. It's above my knowledge base. Oh, there. Mom comes in and she says there were only 9 Americans. 9 from the United States working on the ship. So yeah, it was nice to see all the different countries represented.
It was, and it is. It's nice to see that.
Yep. And so this was our last evening in the dining room, and of course we had to take pictures with our servers. They were fantastic. They were great. Zach, she really liked Zach. Zach, he actually teared up a little bit when he hugged her. That was pretty sweet.
Nice.
Because she knew exactly what he wanted. Every time he walked in, she was able to predict what he was going to order and what he wanted to drink. So that was sweet. But yeah, this was our last night there in the dining room, the last evening. And these were all the servers that got up that last night after they served all of us. And they were playing music and they were dancing and line dancing. And it was just a lot of fun. A lot of fun there after having dinner. Everybody was happy and smiling and laughing and just celebrating, the last night of the cruise. So I really enjoyed that. I thought that was cool. This is a picture I wanted to add in. When we went on the snorkeling excursion, we were taking the boat back from the Devil's Isle around to where the cruise ship was docked. And this is actually a shipwrecked boat that is in the water there. I couldn't tell you what boat it was, ship, whatever, the technical term is, but it's considered like a wildlife sanctuary because schools of fish have taken up residence in it. So you're not allowed to go fishing like within so many feet of the shipwreck because it's just totally inhabited by fish now.
For the fish.
Exactly. Yep, exactly. So I thought that was cool for that fact, but also because it's the way it's positioned here. It's just sticking up out of the water. You don't normally see that either.
Yeah,
normally they're at the bottom. So, yeah. So I thought that was cool. I wanted to share that, and I think that was it. That was the last picture that I have.
Debbie had the one question. What was the most, hold on, bring you back.
Okay.
Get us back to normal size here. First of all, thank you for sharing those pictures. Those were great, Jen. I'm glad you guys absolutely had a great time. Now, I know Debbie, does anybody else have any questions? But I do know Debbie asked the question, what is the most memorable? You may have to repost the question, Debbie, or make sure I got it right. I think her question was, what is the most memorable thing that you will take away from your first time cruise?
I can't say that there was one specific moment. I think it was just the combination of all the moments. It was the joy that my son had looking for. It was the joy in my other son sitting in the casino and winning money and coming out ahead. It was the joy of my other son. You got your casino. Yep. It was the joy of my other son who thoroughly enjoyed doing all of the trivia down in the bar. It was the joy on my mom and dad's face of being with all of their grandkids. So I can't say it was one specific thing because each of us, we enjoyed the cruise in a different way. Each of us enjoyed different things about it. So I would just have to say it was just seeing the joy on everyone's face that they were having such a good time.
Well, and my thing is, as a TA, my hope is that you had the great time. And because it is, when you're going on your first cruise, it can make or break whether you go on a cruise ever again. Because if you experience one bad issue, you might be able to look at, but if it's something that continues over the whole cruise, then you're going to say, no, it's not worth it. See, Harlan says playing in the casino. So,
yep. My oldest son and my husband spent quite a few hours in there. That was their go-to. If you couldn't find them somewhere, yeah, they were probably in the casino.
Did you have to pay taxes on the winnings?
I don't know. You won't have to pay taxes on the winnings. There was not that much winnings.
I mean, hopefully he won, but hopefully didn't win enough to pay taxes.
Sometimes it's just better to not lose money in the casino.
Well, I always say that, but
yeah,
somehow I still end up losing $20 to $40 in the casino.
Oh boy,
that's why I'm glad I don't go all the time and play all the time. And then there's David T, and I know where he would come with the cruise lines. We already know
This is
DC
not a Disney cruise. This is not Disney cruise talk.
But obviously, overall experience for you and your family, it sounds like you had a magical, wonderful time.
Mm-hmm.
And I know as a travel advisor, that makes me happy. And I'm glad. Thank you for sharing that experiences with us on the show and the pictures. So if you guys will give me a couple of minutes, let me take care of some business here. First of all, we will be back in 1 minute because this is brought to you by.
Whether it's luxury or fun in the sun, Dave's got the tips to make your cruise number one. Tune in, sit back, let's plan your stay on Cantrell Country's travelway. It's Cantrell Country's travelway, setting sail on adventure every day. From island stops to ocean blue, we got your cruising covered through and through. Pack your bags and set your sights. We're cruising seas and booking flights from the ports to the waves where dreams come alive. Dave Cantrell is here to guide your ride. It's Cantrell Country's travelway, setting sail on adventure every day. From island stops to ocean blue, we've got your cruising covered through and through.
Also, guys, don't forget, obviously it was a great time to have Molly on here. Don't forget, next week, Captain Mickey Mouse, you're getting your wish. I've got to definitely confirm, but make sure you guys all, if you really want to hear a little bit differences between, we will be looking at North Korea. We'll be working at MSC America versus the Norwegian Cruise Line Breakout. We're going to be looking at those two different ships. So if you really want to learn about more ships and different cruise lines, come back, because I'll tell you, if much experience as I'm gaining, Tinkerbell has things. So make sure you definitely catch out Tinkerbell. And I encourage you guys, if you like to watch cruise ships pull out of ports, go check out Mike's Adventures. He does a good job of watching the cruise ships pull out of Port Canaveral. Please make sure you go check him out. There you go. And that is at the same time, 6 p.m. next Thursday, Cruise Line. Obviously, Jen, thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for sharing your story. Obviously, I'm thank you for your mom being in here and her input. You know, I do have one more question to ask. I could not get his link, Captain Mickey Mouse. I'll have to put it in the description down the road, or I'll bring it out. I'll get his link for him next week. Yeah, I'm starting to get thunderstorms here, and it's getting pretty ugly here in a minute.
Okay.
So, but anyways, so obviously, if you guys are looking to travel, again, if you're new to my channel and looking to travel, Debbie, you can go back, look at the thing. The information will be on that little commercial. Time frame it, and you'll be able to locate it. Plus, Debbie, Mama D put the information as well in there for my email and the travel leader thing. Thank you, Debbie, for putting those things in it. And thank you for putting Tinkerbell's things in there, link in there, because I always love having Tinkerbell on. Mm-hmm. Would you guys ever go back to Bermuda?
We had talked about that, and I don't know that we would go back right away. This was our first cruise, but I think that the next time we would maybe try different islands before going back to Bermuda. I think we want to, see some other things or places that we haven't been, and then maybe head back to Bermuda eventually.
Okay. Well, hey,
Mhm.
well, you know who you can come talk to if you really want to dig into some cruises.
Oh, I know exactly where to go. It's the Cantrell Country Travelway.
Yes, and I will trust me. Bottom line, my theological guys is to make your trips magical, So, any other questions from anybody? If not, I'm going to let Jen give final thoughts, and then I'm going to say one other thing, and then we're going to move on to any final thoughts, Jen?
Well, I just want to say thanks for having me, Dave, and allowing me the chance to share some memories from my cruise, some of my thoughts being my first cruise. Definitely will go again, probably on a bigger ship. But I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I want to say thank you because there were some cruise shows that you had on while I was planning the cruise that definitely helped out with some tips and some things to think about. So that definitely helped me out. So I'm very grateful for that. And, if anybody needs a travel agent, you know who your guy is right there.
Well, thank you for the support and thank you for this. And I do want to say, guys, if you love Disney, please go check out Pete McDevitt Show. He's streaming right now.
Yep. He just went
we're
live.
getting ready to wrap up here again. Thank you, Molly, for coming on. And again, you're more than welcome to come on anytime you want to, Molly, and we'll talk more cruises and especially if you have questions. So, and of course, I know Mama D, you better come talk to me if you ever go on a cruise, Mama D, because I can tell you now, I'm looking on my cruise for next year, which is great. I'm not going to get into that one. I don't know what the full story is on Mickey Mouse. That's a rare occasion something like that happens. I don't like to talk about negativity because I do still love Royal Caribbean. I mean, all the cruise lines has its issues, every one of them. Thank you for putting Pete's link in there, Debbie. So I do encourage you guys to go over there and check out Pete. And again, be here next week at 6 p.m. And again, we thank Molly for being here tonight. So hold on, Molly.
If you guys go over to that link that Debbie just put in for Disney World Live Hollywood Studios Magic, that's Pete McDevitt, who's live right now at Hollywood Studios. And we go in and raid him. Say, Molly wants to know if you're wearing pants. Go into the chat and put in the chat for Pete. Molly wants to know if you're wearing pants.
There you go. And you can tell him it was sent over here by the travel people.
Yep. So anyway, go do it.
So with that, guys, any last thing you want to say before we?
Nope. It was fun. Thank you.
Once again, guys, thank you for being here. Thank you for that. If you're new to my channel, again, my name is Dave Cantrell. I am the agent and owner of the Cantrell Country Travelway. I encourage you to go check out my other videos. I did not pin the link tonight, but if you're interested in joining the Discord, I will put it in the description of the video later tonight. Reach out. It'll show you. Go over there. Fill out a couple of questions. I'll make sure you get approved. You'll get to see all the traveling that I've done over the years and more traveling that I plan on doing. Plus, you'll get to see some of my certifications that I have worked on. I am posting my certifications in there, and we'll be continuing to that, as many as I've gotten now. Hey, and if you're getting married, I can even help you do wedding plans. So there you go. One of these days,
Nice.
I might have to plan my own wedding. We'll see.
Yep. We'll see.
But with that, guys, I'm going to say, let the Cantrell Country Travelway help you find your goal vacation. Have a great night, everyone. So if you'll stay with me, Molly, I'll say one. I'll talk to you for a minute.
Yep.
And we'll
Good
say
night.
have a great night, guys.